I didn't know my name. I had to relearn how to read, write, walk, just basic. There were some basic skills that I didn't have. So I really, like in the beginning, I just really I didn't understand the gravity of what had happened. It wasn't until later, and my mom and my dad and my sisters, they constantly had to tell me what happened. And they still even talk about it to this day, but they would have to remind me what happened.
Welcome to the Life, Language, and Lyrics podcast, where we explore our passions, live with purpose, and face our fears. I'm Laina, and some of you may know me as Dr. Davis. I'm a professor, speech language pathologist, baker, and a lover of people with the mission to bring a little Southern comfort to your day. Since this episode is airing during Brain Injury Awareness Month, I'm excited to introduce the Neuro News edition of Life, Language, Lyrics. This special series will highlight personal stories and essential information about brain injuries with a focus on sports-related concussions. My goal is to spread awareness and educate those who are not so familiar with the effects of brain injury and shine a light on the critical role of speech-language pathologists and other professionals that support in recovery. Today, I have a very special guest here to share her own personal experience with brain injury, Dr. Lisadaniels. Lisa Daniels is a sports psychotherapist and certified mental performance consultant at Howard University. She provides counseling services and performance intervention to students, student athletes, coaches, and teams at Howard University. Dr. Daniels is a native Washingtonian and a proud graduate of DC Public Schools. She earned a PhD in counseling psychology from Howard University.
No.
And a Master of Teaching in Special Education from the University of Virginia. Dr. Daniels is a proud survivor of a traumatic brain injury. She believes that the exploration and acceptance of self helps individuals win on the inside. Thank you for being here.
No, thank you so much for having me.
No, I just read your bio, but can you give us a little background about yourself, like where you from, what you like to do,
Okay.
work stuff, all that?
Well, I'm excited to be here. First and foremost, I'm a native Washingtonian from Northeast Washington, D.C. I am a wife, a mother, and I also love what I do. I say I'm a healer. I work as a sports psychotherapist and certified mental performance consultant. I was a classically trained ballet dancer. So prior to, while I was in, just all my life, ever since I was a little girl, I was in ballet, I was in dance. And then later, when I went to the University of Virginia, I was on the dance team at UVA.
Nice.
And I love life and living and just enjoying my family, friends, and loved ones.
Okay, very nice. I can tell you love life too. And can you tell us exactly what a sports psychotherapist does?
Yes. So in my position, my specific role is I provide performance consultations to individuals. And so my designation as a certified mental performance consultant, you work with a range of performers. So just high performing individuals to include athletes. And so providing consultations as it relates to self-confidence, motivation, energy, focus. So it could be a range of issues where you're able to provide supports to help people just find their best self, being able to find their just inner edge, motivation. So it could be a range of different factors that I may work with an individual. And so it's something that I decided to do after my experience of sustaining a traumatic brain injury when I was a second year at the University of Virginia.
Okay, wow, that's really interesting. I think that that's amazing too, that Howard has you on staff.
Thank you.
So that's beautiful.
But I want to add that I'm grateful that Howard is a place that wants to really pour into their students and their student athletes. That that they have a position like mine. That is something that is prioritized and valued. So I think that's something that I just really want to speak to, and I'm grateful for.
Yeah, I second that, because I don't know many teams that have that kind of person on staff for them. That's that direct. So now we are really here today because you have a story to share, like a very significant thing that has happened in your life. You actually sustained a traumatic brain injury. Can you share that story?
So, my second year of college, when I was at the University of Virginia, I was in a near fatal car accident where I sustained a traumatic brain injury. And I was in a coma. It was really severe. I had a Glasgow coma scale of a 3.
Wow.
And so what's really significant about that, and I remember when later after it had happened, like some years later, I said, I want to get my medical record and just look at it, because sometimes it's hard to believe. I remember at one time kind of feeling like I was like, oh, am I like in the Matrix? Is this really real? Am I really here? Did this really happen? And so as I was looking through the file, they said there was areas where it said anoxic brain injury. That
Yeah.
means no oxygen to my brain, I'm sure, as you know. And so it was expected for me not to be here, not to live, not to have just have very, very limited abilities if I was to recover. So it's just it's something that at one time in my life, I experienced a lot of shame around. Like, I didn't want anybody to know. And I didn't want anybody to have interactions with me and wonder, oh, does that have something to do with her brain injury? Or is something wrong? Or is she not herself? Because it takes some years there was a time when I didn't, as far as my memories, I didn't really remember, well, who was I? Or I
Yeah.
wanted to be who everybody remembered me to be. And that was a real challenge.
Sounds hard too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Wow. And when you talk about anoxia, right, and not getting oxygen to the brain, so like you said, it was expected that you might not have a lot of abilities.
Hmm.
When you first experienced the injury, what kind of skills did you have, or what were the struggles?
So, well, my memory of what had happened is from what was shared with me by my family and friends. And I was in rehab at the National Rehabilitation Hospital after I left the hospital when I was at the University of Virginia. I was transferred to rehab there where I had every type of rehab from speech language pathology, cognitive therapy, occupational therapy, everything. And I'll never forget. Well, one thing I really remember, I had to do these rehab was hard. And I remember that I had to do these different like cognitive activities or tasks, and one of them was organizing Jan's closet. And I used to get so frustrated. That's the name of it. That was the name of it, I remember. And I was getting so frustrated because I couldn't get it right. And I think I had to like put the things, maybe the clothes or the items on the hanger or whatever it was. And it was something just so basic I couldn't do. And so I remember like my sisters and they would come visit me and everything like that. They would be there and I would try to like look at them to give me hints to like tell me like what the answer was or to figure it out. And I remember feeling humiliated. I also remember feeling angry because I was confused because I didn't really understand. I didn't think anything was wrong with me at the time. I'm like, I'm fine. And I remember my mom, I was in a wheelchair at the time because I also had I had physical, injuries. I broke my femur in half, and I had some other fractures as well. And so when my mom would take me, like they would just so I could get some sunlight, and they would like wheel me out of my room. I would always bring my pocketbook, like I was going somewhere. And so I think, or I remember people would come visit me. I would say, "Oh, take me with you," because I really thought that I could go, and they would take me with them. This was while in rehab. So I told you the memory is,
Yeah.
I have like little small glimpses, and then later afterwards, like as I started to get better and heal and get to the place where I was able to return to school, that's I think where the shame had come in, where I was like I wanted to hide in a
Yeah.
sense.
So how long was it before you were able to go back to school? Do you remember?
The accident was December 1st, 2002. I think at least a year. It took some time. Yeah, at
Okay.
least a year for sure.
Okay. And you were in your second year of
Yes, in
college.
second year of college.
Okay. And so that I'm assuming was a pretty challenging thing too, because college, you got to do a lot of high level tasks. And was it like a slow re-entry, or did you go back and just have to start in all your classes?
So I remember I ended up having to, so that's when things shifted around what I wanted to do and what I wanted to become in life.
Okay.
So at first, I said I wanted to be a corporate lawyer, and I would have been a really good corporate lawyer. But after having an experience coming so close to death, and also having my own special needs that I had to navigate and I needed support with, I said, you know what? Why did God allow me to live? What is my purpose? And that's what made me really want to connect with my God given purpose in life. And so that's when I decided, you know what? I want to help people. I want to help give kids a chance, an opportunity, because I grew up in the inner city and I understood all the things my parents had to do, all the different supports and supplements I required, along with my public school education in order to prepare me for college and to have college readiness. There was a lot that we also had to do in addition. And so with that being said, I said, well, you know what? One of the greatest ways to give back would be to become a special educator. So at that time, I had to go back, have my reentry back into school, and then I had to also apply to the Curry School of Education, because I think around that time was when you would then apply if you wanted to do the Masters of Teaching program, which is a
Okay.
5-year program. I believe it's 5 or 6 years. I can't remember exactly. And so that's when then I applied to go into that program, and I was accepted and I re-entered. It was a blessing. I graduated. I was honored by the Milk and Family Foundation as a teacher of promise, and that's so after teaching and working as a special educator, and then I later worked in the public education school system, I saw how athletics was just the vehicle through which a lot of the kids on my caseload would thrive. Many of them had challenges, social emotional challenges, along with learning disabilities, where one of the places where they really had support and they felt, where I saw this confidence. It's like there's this light, there's this spark in their eyes, athletics. And so that's when I said, you know what? I want to get, and a lot of my students that had different social emotional, that required that social emotional support, I said, I wanted to become a psychologist. I said, that's what I want to do. And I want to get onto the other side. I also want to get around understanding performance. How do I help a person develop drive? How do I help people become a high performing individual? Many people will ask me, like, Lisa, how do you do it? Where do you get the energy? Where do you get the drive? How do you persevere? And I said, there's got to be something more behind this. I wanted to learn about the science of thriving and of resilience and of just becoming the best.
Yeah. And then who better to do that than somebody who had to use it themselves to get where you are? I think that's
Thank
so
you.
amazing. 1 year you were able to go back to school, especially with the severity of your injury. I think that also, I hope that people that are watching, if anybody is going through recovery on their own, that they are inspired, because that's really, really amazing.
Thank you. But I want to add the healing took much longer than just a year. See, I had a lot of support. My family was very supportive. My friends, they were there, they were by my side. And so, although I did end up returning to school, I still had challenges, I would say, with regard to like my memory, my short term memory. So, I remember, I was in school at the time, and something that helped me, I needed a job. So, I worked at Red Lobster. And when I was at UVA, there was a Red Lobster right on 29. And
Okay.
I think so I worked there part time as a waitress, to help, so I could have some extra money and to support myself through school. But being able to serve tables also helped me with just my memory, because, you have to remember things as far
Yeah.
as all the different steps. Okay, did they want ketchup? What did they order? And so I think that was something I had. So there were just little different things that I had to do to help just exercise my brain. And I also had to learn strategies, I had to develop my own compensatory strategies to help to navigate moments when I didn't remember or if I would forget. And that was just something I've just been adding to my toolbox along the way.
Okay. Could you share, like, maybe a couple of the strategies you found to be most helpful?
So writing things down,
Mm-hmm.
keeping my own schedule. Actually, so I remember there were times where you know how you want to agree to do something and you say, "Oh yeah, yeah, okay, I'll go." And there was a time where I really like genuinely wanted to do something or commit to
Mm-hmm.
something, but then I would forget. And
Okay.
so, and then I would feel like, oh, this embarrassment. So that's where I started to use like the note section on my phone. I mean, I tell you, I take note of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I keep my own schedule. I have my planner. So they're just little different things that I had to do. Even sometimes I have to email reminders to myself just to make sure that I remember things. It came to something as small as like my keys. I remember I would just lose my keys or forget where I
Yeah.
parked. Just some, and that can be really upsetting. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's the little things that that were just, I guess you could do so easily that become really, really hard. And that can
Mm-hmm.
just kind of mess up your day. And so I just had to start. So even now to this day, like if I park somewhere, I make sure I take note of where I park. I may have to
Mm-hmm.
take a picture of it, or just I'll send little notes to myself. So they're just small little things that I do that maybe at one time caused me to feel shame or embarrassment, but I realized, what is the place of that? What is that going to do?
Mm-hmm.
I have to do what works for me.
Nice. And I was wondering too, when you were, as much as you can remember, like in the rehab process,
Hmm.
did you find yourself coming to the place of understanding, like, I actually have had something happen to my brain? It's not that I've lost my ability to think or I've lost intelligence? Or did you find that your therapist, whether it was speech or PT or OT or whoever, did they provide good information about what was actually happening at that time?
I really didn't understand.
Mm-hmm.
I really, like, I had to, during the car accident, like, I didn't know my name. I had to relearn how to read, write, walk, just basic. There were some basic skills that I didn't have. So I really, like in the beginning, I just really I didn't understand the gravity of what had happened. It wasn't until later. And my mom and my dad and my sisters, they constantly had to tell me what happened. And they still even
Mm-hmm.
talk about it to this day, but they would have to remind me what happened.
Yeah.
Just, when I was in rehab, I don't really remember, and I didn't really understand. So,
Yeah.
I think that honestly, you know what I think? I think families, I think really require support and
Mm-hmm.
understanding because
Mm-hmm.
a person can look like they're fine or they can look like they're getting better, but what's really going on or what's happening, they're not as well as they may look.
Mm-hmm.
So I may have looked okay, and you know you could think that, oh, there's that, oh, she's fine. And so there were some things I could still do, but still there was a lot that I wasn't in touch with.
Yeah. And I think that's common too with brain injury, especially when it's closed head.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it's like, I know some things are hard, but I'm not exactly sure what's happening or what's going
Hmm.
on. And there's a process that happens where the awareness starts to kick in a little more.
I remember being in touch with feeling angry or frustrated, like, why are they keeping me here? And I
Mm-hmm.
want to go home.
Yep.
And I remember, like, I've always loved to shop. And I remember, like, when my sister would say, "Oh, we're going to the mall." And I'll say, "Okay, I'm coming too." And she would say, "Okay." And I'm really grateful she did that
Mm-hmm.
because it made me feel good. And even though of course, I couldn't leave the hospital, I didn't go, but I remember feeling like I'm going to the mall,
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
so, yeah, those caregivers and family and
Hmm.
friends are really, really important during those moments.
Hmm. But I imagine it could be really frustrating for the caregivers,
Mm-hmm.
because it's really hard for them to, as they're expecting, they're like, oh, you know how to do this. This is something you should be able to do. And you just really have to give that person time as they heal and recover.
It's very true. Even in my classes, I teach students, when you treat, you're not just treating the client, it's their spouse, it's their parent,
Hmm.
sibling, whoever is around them. should be involved in that process because you got to help them understand what's happening, and they're
Mm-hmm.
going to need some strategies too at the
Mm-hmm.
same
Yep.
time. So you make a good point. So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
What kept you motivated during some of the most difficult moments of your rehabilitation?
So, I believe in envisioning the life that I want. And that's something I never lost. And I just thank God for that.
Yeah.
That I would see myself like, this is how I've been ever since I was a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I used to envision my success, where I was going to go, what I'm planning to do, the life that I wanted to live. And so that's something I really held on, is I saw myself getting back to where I was
Mm-hmm.
um, prior to the accident. But what's interesting is that you're different, and at that time I'm developing into my womanhood. And so, you're changing in many different ways. And so I'm not going to be this happened when I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
So I had to really just embrace becoming a woman. So I just and also envisioning my life differently, and envisioning my life in different ways, and so moving on a different career path and really embracing that and loving it. I had to be creative.
Yeah. And it sounds like you had a lot of like internal, intrinsic motivation just on your own, which you were probably very strong willed even before your accident. And
Well,
that
thank you.
supported you.
Thank you.
And you did talk a little bit about, and you just mentioned some of this now, you talked a little bit about not really remembering who you were, and trying to kind of
Yeah.
live based on what you were being told. How do you feel like you got to the place of figuring out, okay, I just got to figure out who I am now?
You know, when I was applying for in my doctoral program when I was at Howard, in order to pursue in the counseling psychology doctoral program, you have to apply for an internship. And so in my essay, I had to write an autobiographical essay about myself. And I want to share, I'm going to share a little excerpt from it
Okay.
that could help. It says this. It says, at the time, I was 19 years old, transitioning into my womanhood and beginning to make major decisions that would define the person I aspired to become. Yet it was a struggle to remember the person that I once envisioned. My identity was fissured into fragmented stories of who everyone else once loved and remembered. So I thought I was defeated. Much of my recovery later involved comforting my loved ones and ensuring them I was okay. And so I just wanted everybody to think I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really painful.
Yeah.
And then it was really hard with trying to like figure out, well, gosh, you wouldn't do that, or oh, you're a whole lot more outspoken, or you used to be shy, and it's just like, dang, I don't know who I used to be, and this is who I am. And
Yeah.
so it had to get to a point of really just accepting who I am, and not trying to be her. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
not trying to be who I thought I used to be, and also not trying to be them or anybody else. I had to
Mm-hmm.
really get to the place where I could just authentically show up as me,
Yeah.
myself, and I. That took time.
That's good. I mean, because look, it's some people who still trying to figure that out, 40s and 50s,
Yeah.
and beyond. So that's really good.
Yeah, I thank God for my therapist.
And then, so in some of a lot of actually a lot of the cases that I have, clients will tell me that either their support system, maybe close friends and things like that, people like that have kind of shifted away, or they have, in a sense, isolated themselves because maybe they're having a hard time with following conversations,
Mm-hmm.
or even just the part of like understanding some of the subtleties of communication, the
Mm-hmm.
nonverbals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have any of those things happen, or do you remember any of that?
Yeah, I would say it was both in.
Okay.
And I think perhaps maybe one of the most painful heartbreaks I ever experienced was, I guess, losing some close friendships and relationships at
Mm-hmm.
a time where people don't really understand, what it is that you're going through and what you're navigating. And so I think, again, that's why there needs to be supports for close family members, friends to understand what the nature of a traumatic brain injury is. And so it can
Mm-hmm.
even be years later where you think, okay, the person is okay, but it just the healing takes time. So I did experience some shifts in relationships. I also had a lot of support. I had a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that loved me, that prayed for me, that cared about me. And I'm just so grateful for that. And I also had to be okay with, things change in life, and
Mm-hmm.
friend, and that's just period.
Yeah.
With or without injury, people change, friendships
Very true.
change
That's true.
and shift.
And then, well, you did mention that going through this process is part of what shaped you into wanting to be a psychologist. How do you feel like your experience shapes the way you interact with your own clients?
Okay, I want to add, pre-licensure, I have one more test I have to take,
Okay, okay,
and then my
okay,
licensure exam, so that's why I say psychotherapist.
okay.
But as far as just with my clients, it's just beautiful. It's the
Hmm.
work that we do together. Like, it's something I really feel like I have a divine calling, and just with being able to help them accept themselves
Yeah.
and to see that there isn't room for, just letting go of rejection or even the expectation to be accepted by everybody. Just you got to let some of that go and just take your time with
Hmm.
understanding self. I really enjoy it.
That's good because especially now, I mean, they've always needed it, but this shift that has
Hmm.
happened since we've come back from pandemic and just seeing the higher levels of anxiety and stress and
Hmm.
all kinds of things. So it is a blessing that you are able to work with those
Thank you.
students. Um, Speaking of the students,
Hmm.
what are some of the most common challenges that you see them facing right now? And then are any of those unique to being Black students?
I think perhaps a challenge that many people face, it can just relate to, I guess, the life they imagined.
Ah,
And it's just, even though like my experience is not really all that unique,
yeah.
in the sense that a lot of people envision or they think or expect things to be a certain way, or even, or the shoulds. Oh, this
Mm-hmm.
should have happened. But, so it's working with navigating, well, then what is, and
Mm-hmm.
learning how to accept the reality of where you are, what's before you. And then I really help them with just becoming creative to create the life that they want, to pursue the goals that they, to begin to create. I think that's the thing, with depression.
Yeah.
Depression is the loss of creativity, the
Mm-hmm.
ability to envision, to see, the loss of hope. And so just being able to sit with a person, and I'm not saying that just every person I see, oh, they're depressed, but
Yeah.
I think often people lose sight of, or they feel like they give up because
Mm-hmm.
things don't go the way that they had expected.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, let's shift. Let's prepare for the shift, and know that they can, and then to also help them equip themselves with the resources and the tools and the strategies to navigate the turns that are going to come along the way.
You said you work with students all over the campus.
Yes.
Yeah, because I mean I see that even in
Yeah.
our own program. We like to say speech pathologists are very type A, but I think it's students in general, very, very high achievers, especially here at Howard. We got a lot of high
Hmm.
achievers and they have these time frames and these expectations and when it's not
Hmm.
meeting up, life gets really hard.
Hmm.
So, wow.
And a lot of times their self-esteem and
Mm,
their value can be so closely connected to
mm.
achievement. And so
Yeah.
getting this award or this accolade or having this place, and I think social media really contributes to that,
Mm,
because everybody has this existence in multiple places and spaces. So on this
yeah.
particular app, and then on this place and that, and so they want to advertise this life or this image that is not always consistent with reality. And so it's just working with people to realize that, hey, you know what? You are okay as you are, to accept yourself, and also to create the life that you want.
This is good.
Thank you.
With the stigma around mental health, how do
hmm
you navigate that aspect in athletics? Or I guess it could be anybody you work with.
So people have to understand mental health happens to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
We all have mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And so people just need to really understand that.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody necessarily has a mental illness. However, but mental health is something that impacts all of us, but it's also not something to experience shame around. And so, the
Mm-hmm.
same way, for example, you go to a cardiologist for your heart, or a dermatologist for your skin, or we go to the hairdresser for our hair.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to see a therapist to work for just your mind, your feelings, your emotions, or even to work with somebody as you are creating your goals, your visions, your dreams.
That's good. I wonder too if you experience any of the same things that I do when there's concussion, right? And not wanting to be completely honest about the symptoms that they're experiencing, because if somebody knows that I'm not okay, I might not get to play. Do you run into that same type of experience?
Well, I'll say this, just I'll speak in a general sense.
Mm-hmm.
That, and I think this also as it relates to us as people of color, the expectation to be okay. I think hypermasculinity, as well as even when we're talking about race and wellness, no one wants to endorse any type of suggestion or feeling of a shortcoming in any way, because you're already navigating these different stereotypes and microaggressions and all these other things that are already happening that could really just keep a person from sharing that, oh, wait a minute, I am experiencing some symptoms, because it can cause them to feel shame,
Mm-hmm.
embarrassment, or fear of not being able to return back to their life
Yeah.
or their life as it was. I mean, there are a range of factors that can contribute to a person not wanting to share or endorse, the symptoms that they're experiencing. So that's why I really think the education
Mm-hmm.
around what the nature of a concussion
Yeah.
is so important, so they can understand, okay, this is what happens, but then also understanding the intervention or the support that is in place and how it could help them, but not
Mm-hmm.
harm them or hold them back.
Yeah, yeah, very good. I made it a goal, I think after maybe like the first couple, I was like, let me make sure you know. One, I don't even get to make the decision of when you go
Mhm.
back. I'm just here to help you.
Mhm.
Just here to
Mhm.
help you. And I also say this as I transition into the next question. I
Mhm.
also found that like majority of who I did see were the female athletes.
Mhm.
And in many cases, it was because they said something just don't feel right. And there
Mhm.
is document, like there's literature that says that women are better reporters of injuries and things like that. And I was just
Mhm.
wondering about female athletes in general. Do you see any unique challenges with that population compared to the male counterparts, or do you see it to be pretty similar?
So I think when it comes to gender, thinking about the expectations, and I would say culturally as it relates
Mm-hmm.
to, I guess, maybe Black women, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when it comes to wellness or the ideas of wellness, and also with Black men, so I think there could be reasons why women may feel more comfortable
Mm-hmm.
endorsing or sharing that they've experienced something or getting the help, because when we're thinking about masculinity, it's always being tough or secure or well or okay, so that could be, those could be some factors that are getting in the way, as it relates, as one may report an experience of illness or anything like that. But then also would say sometimes people underreport because they're used to not, they may not be used to feeling well. Like that's just the norm. They could be
Yeah.
used to the pain or being in distress. So that's why I just think the support is just so important and necessary. And just also to really just humanize a person's experience and not look at it like, or not pathologize it like, oh, they're being defensive or they
Mhm.
are trying to get out of something, or there's this hidden agenda. But just sometimes people just aren't used to having somebody just sit with them and the focus is 100% where
Mhm.
they want to just make sure and be invested in their wellness. People could
Yeah.
experience some suspicion.
That's very true. Um,
I actually used to feel that way. I was like, why do you want to be all up in my business?
so what's going on?
Yeah, I want to go home.
And especially for therapists, we just all in people's faces smiling.
And look, I always start my sessions. I say, listen, it probably see I'm going to ask you a whole lot of questions. And you're
Mhm.
like, dang, she's trying to get up all in my business. And I'm saying, yes, I am, but not because I'm being nosy, but they're questions that I'm asking in order to understand how I can help you and to
Mhm.
understand what's going on in your life.
Yeah. And then what about these coaches and athletic staff? How do you collaborate with them to also help support the students?
So one thing I make sure I do is I really work hard to just make myself available,
Mhm.
to let them know that they can access me, they can reach out to me. I support them with navigating different issues, really helping develop a team culture,
Mhm.
things that may be going on with the team or that the players are navigating at the time. And I try to understand their vision for what they want for their team, what type of skills they want them to develop or they want them to have. And so with every team I work with, I create, it's not like I use the same thing every time, but I
Mhm.
literally create an intervention that is just based upon the need at the time. And I create something that incorporates, their concerns. And I look at, okay, what are the strengths and what are some of the areas to improve? I kind of do my own little needs analysis
Yeah.
every time in order to just kind of collect data, information, and then create tools to work with them and help their teams thrive.
Wow. They're so lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so lucky to have them. I mean, I love the work that I do, and I'm grateful to, the coaches for them to trust you with
Mhm.
this is, I mean, the vulnerability creates a bridge and builds a bridge of connection, and so for them to be able to be open and, they're highly competitive, and to be able to share, hey, these are some challenges that we're having, these are our strengths, and allow me to come in and to join them. That's the highest honor. It's a real privilege. Yeah.
So let me ask you just some words of advice that you may have. What advice, and I know there's probably more than just a little bit, but if there is someone, a student athlete, struggling with mental health challenges and not sure if they want to say something about it, what would be your advice to encourage them?
I would say specifically at
Hmm.
Howard University Counseling Service is an amazing resource where you can receive their confidential support, and there are a range of therapists that have been trained very well to help a person navigate whatever it is that they may be dealing with at the time. There are resources in place, and if they do not want to go to the University Counseling Center, there are other places, there are other options. They can receive their referrals that they can receive. Just it's okay to talk to somebody. And also it's also important to know that they're not the only one. Yes, I always tell them that I hold up the hand. I say, you know what? Nobody else has this imprint right here. And you are unique. You are needed. You are necessary. And so, yes, you may be dealing with a problem that could be like isolating. You feel like, oh my gosh, I'm the only one in the world. So yes, you are the only one in the world with your force, your contributions, and your experiences are
Yeah.
specific to you. However, there are also many other people in this world that can relate in some way, shape, or form. And if nobody has had your exact experience, because no, they haven't, there is somebody that is trained and that is able to help and support you.
Hmm.
And that's what I tell them. And that it's okay to reach out and have support.
That's good advice. And I got
Thank
one
you.
more.
Okay.
What advice would you give to someone who is living with the symptoms of brain injury and needs some motivation?
To give yourself grace. And my granddad told me this. My granddad was in World War II. He taught in the dental school at Howard, and he was raised briefly by his great grandmother that was a freed slave. And I remember asking him, I said, Big Paul, I said, when you were in the war, I said, and things were just, because he said he remembered telling me you couldn't see, it was very dusty. I said, what did you do? And he said, and this is an image that has never left me. He said, I just remember I kept putting one boot in front of the next. And I envision that. I envision what that looked like. And you just keep putting one boot in front of the next, and you keep going. You don't have to run. You don't have to be doing it fast. You just keep putting one boot in front of the next, and you will move. And then I tell my clients, I say, when you're coming to therapy, and I remember feeling this way, I was like, oh gosh, like you feel like nothing happened. Like, okay, I went and it's just whatever. I say, okay, imagine this bucket, and you're adding to the bucket, and it goes by drip. You go drip, drip, it's just drip, right? And the one little drop goes splat. It goes nowhere. I said, just keep on looking at yourself this way. It goes drip, drip, drip. It takes only one drop, just one drip of water for that bucket to overflow. So that's what you got to remember. You are adding to your overflow.
That's so good. I love that. I love that so much.
Thank you.
Your grandfather's story also reminds me of. So I went through grief counseling as I lost my mother back in 2020. And in that, the thing that stuck with me the most was one of the sessions they talked about just do one more thing. And I found myself so many days like we were teaching virtually then. I didn't want to I would lay in the bed until it was time to teach, and then I was like, just do one thing. Just one thing. And I had to literally talk myself through that. And I just kept doing one thing over
Yeah,
and over.
that's big.
So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
beautiful, beautiful advice.
Thank you. Yeah, that is though. I connect with just do one thing.
We are at one of my favorite portions of the episode where we talk a little bit about music and its role in your life. So I'm going to ask you about some different categories, and you can tell me the songs that match that.
Okay.
Okay. And maybe a little bit about why,
Okay.
too. So the first one was I wanted to know a song or even just lyrics that describe your journey since the accident.
Okay. So that song would be Better Than Good to Me by Lady Harmony. You want me to play the song?
For YouTube, I don't necessarily
Oh,
know
no, you
if I can.
can't. Okay. Okay. So it said he's been so good, said he's been so good. God has been so good. Good just ain't good enough. He's been better than good to me. God has had my back in the midst of my enemies, and I ain't even have to be there. I have roamed many cities. Friends, not very many, but God took care of me and my children. I'm so connected to this air that I breathe, the oceans and the seas, the mountains, the skies, and the trees. I'm going to get everything that belongs to me. Good just ain't good enough.
Yes. I like that song so much.
Oh, yeah, isn't it? Me too. I love it. It's beautiful.
Yes, and her voice is so rich, and
Yeah,
that's true. He has been good. He
yeah,
has been good.
yeah.
Wow. Okay. So what is a song that describes who you are right now?
So that would be I See Miracles by Jacqueline Carr. Did I say her name right?
I think so.
Yeah, Jacqueline Carr. I see, like, I can see, I believe in envisioning your success. I can see possibilities, even with my clients. When they
Yeah.
talk to me, I listen and I really connect with what it is. Like, what it is that they say that they want. I help them create. I help them create what it is that what the goal. Because sometimes you feel like, gosh, you don't know what to do. So I listen to I listen for their strengths. We work through the challenges, and that's just who I am. And so this one says, if you believe in something long and hard, if you believe in something with all your heart, it shall come to pass. I see miracles. I see miracles, and
Yeah.
I see miracles happening for you. And you have to think it into existence. You have to speak it into existence. You have to faith it into existence. And it happens. That's
You
my
know, the
life.
more you talk, I'm like, it wouldn't have mattered what happened in your life. You are where you're supposed to be. You
Thank
were gonna
you.
be here anyway.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay, so we'll take it in a little different direction. What's a song that helps you relax? Like when you had that long day of pouring into everybody else.
I blast this song in my car. It's called No Ordinary Worship by Kalante Gavin. And
Mm.
it says, this ain't no ordinary worship. This ain't no
Uh-huh.
ordinary song. The God I serve is greater than the ordinary. So I'm going to give him all I have in this moment. Come on, help me sing, y'all. This ain't no ordinary worship. I mean, and then this is my favorite part. He said, let me tell this story about a woman with an issue. Had it 12 long years, didn't know what to do. She heard a man coming through her town. She fell to her knees and crawled on the ground. And this is what she said: if I could only touch the hem of his garment.
Mm.
So,
It kind of makes me feel a little more excited than relaxed, but I
no, it helps because, if
it's
I feel
good.
overwhelmed,
Overwhelmed,
it's just
yeah.
like, okay,
This is
it's
good.
going to be all
I'm
right.
liking these songs. So now, what is the song that motivates you to keep pushing when you feel like quitting?
This one is funny. It's Haters. My sister put me onto the song, my baby sister, by Chocolate Tie. Have you ever heard that song?
I don't know.
It's funny. It goes, if you know me, act like you know me. But if
I
you
have
a
not.
hater, stay the hell away from me. If you my friend, act like my friend.
Hey.
And if you a hater, stay the hell away from me. And it says everybody ain't your partner, everybody ain't your friend. Some of your friends
Mm-hmm.
be hating on you, but acting like they your friends. They be the one to stab you in the back, but smile up in your face. Acting like they really happy for you, but they really want to take your place. So he said, if you got some haters in your life, you need to take my advice. Go ahead and shake them haters off and get them haters up out your life. He said, some of y'all got family members who never got nothing good to say. The ones that be trying to bring you down, those things ain't going away. So I like that song because he's keeping
Mm-hmm.
it real. Everybody's not going to love you. Everybody's not going to
Mm-hmm.
like you. This can be in your own
Mm-hmm.
family. This could be in your workplace, your friend group. And so you really that's why you got to really know yourself, accept
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and love yourself, but also understand that you gotta let some people get up out your face. They don't need
Yeah.
to be in your life.
That's true. That's true. You know what? I heard that on Instagram.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the funny songs.
Okay. I was like, yeah,
My
I remember
sister,
watching
my,
it
my
on here.
sister, and my mom, we were on vacation one time and they played it. I was like, oh, I like this. I said, this is my jam.
It sounds like it should have a line dance to it.
Yeah, I think it probably does. I need to learn it.
Okay, so last song,
Uh-huh.
because you work with athletics,
Mm-hmm.
what is a song that gets you hyped for games and tournaments?
I love this song. It's
Hmm.
called Something Good by Anthony
Hmm.
Brown and Group Therapy.
Oh,
And it
okay,
says,
yeah.
this is your wake up call. This is your daily reminder. This is your confirmation. Turn up a little bit louder. We've seen enough hard times. It's time for something good. And then it goes, we've had enough heartaches. It's time for something good. Get ready for the phone to ring. Miracles are happening. The email is on the way. It's about to be a real good day. I just love it. We've waited so patiently. That blessing is on the way. So just speaking your success into existence, knowing that something good is coming. The power of positive thinking, the power of
Yeah.
your words, of your thoughts. I mean, you can manifest things. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
That's my song.
I'm a fan of all the songs you
Thank
have.
you.
So, very last thing.
Uh-huh.
Are there any of either scriptures or affirmations that you say to yourself or
hmm
to other people that you would like to share?
This scripture right here, Psalm 91. Let me pull it on up. This scripture is so powerful, and I think even right now, with all this going on, it's helpful to hear. It says in Psalm 91, 9 through 13, if you say, the Lord is my refuge, and you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against the stone. You will tread on the lion and the cobra, and you will trample the great lion and the serpent. That right there. That's just
Wow.
reassurance that we are going to face some things and we are going to face some
Hmm.
hard times, but we are equipped with what we need to
Yeah.
overcome and to get through.
All right, Minister Lisa.
That's the next thing I want to do. I want to get my MDiv.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you right on track,
Thank
girl.
you.
Oh, this has been so good.
Thank
I am
you.
so grateful that you agreed to come and share your story
Thank you.
here.
Thank you.
I I'm just really inspired by you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm inspired by you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And do you want to tell people where they can find you on the socials
Oh,
and things?
I have an Instagram. My IG is just me at Dr. Lisa Daniels. DRLISA Daniels. That's how you can
Nice.
find me.
Okay. All right, y'all. That is a wrap for this episode of Life, Language, and Lyrics. I hope you found something meaningful, inspiring, or just a little comforting today. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow on YouTube. You can follow me on Instagram. All of the information for myself and for Dr. Daniels will be in the show notes. And your support helps spread the word and all of the information that we're trying to put out there to the people. Until next time, take care, stay inspired, and keep showing up for yourselves.
Thank
See
you.
y'all soon.